So walk us through MicroAcquire. Is it mainly SaaS companies? Do you have other companies listed on there? Walk us through some of the types of listings and kind of who the target market is, the general size of these types of companies.
Yeah, definitely. So it's mainly SaaS, but there's a good amount of e-commerce. I've listed marketplaces, I've listed communities, mobile apps. I've played around with a few like content websites, but it's predominantly SaaS. And so the buyers is the most interesting part. So the buyers is everyone from, founders of public companies to, VP of sales or CROs or CMOs at, other tech companies just looking to own 100% of a business rather than like a tenth of 1% of a business. And then a lot of second time entrepreneurs who maybe have had an exit and instead of, chewing glass for 2 years to get something off the ground, they'd like to buy something with a little bit of product market fit. But yeah, the goal with MicroAcquire is to build the best marketplace with the highest quality SaaS businesses. But from time to time, I do list interesting tech businesses depending on it. Every listing is manually approved by me. So I look at every single one and I curate it and I make sure that I gather information from the founder just to make sure it's not like a complete scam or something like that. Don't do like due diligence like a broker would or something like that, but definitely curate the marketplace so it's high quality. But you'll find a variety of business in there, but I'd say 90% are SaaS.
Yeah, that's fantastic. With what you said, chewing glass is a great way to approach entrepreneurship if you start from scratch. And so I started a lot of companies from scratch, Andrew. Some of them worked out, a lot of them didn't, but I've tried to skip the last few years, skip from starting from scratch in that chewing glass stage. So one of the things that's really important here, and a lot of people don't realize, is there are a lot of marketplaces out there to buy a company that you can list companies on there for sale that don't get verified really well. And the industry is rampant full of scams, and it's gotten a lot more buttoned up in say in the last 2 to 3 years. But the fact that you look at every listing and you're not creating a 30-page summary like a broker would, but you are verifying certain aspects of this business that it's actually a legitimate business. When what I found was interesting too, so you said a lot of like pretty high profile people are the buyers. So from a seller standpoint, the reason they would want to go with you is there's actually no fee. Am I understanding that right? There's no fee to actually sell with you. You actually make money off the buyer subscription, correct?
Yeah, so there's no commissions, there's no fees for founders, so you can list your company literally completely free. I like that because it brings kind of like an unbiased view on the company. Like I'm just listing it, I speak to the founder, I gather information, but I'm not going to argue with them on price. I'll give recommendations, but what they tell me is what they tell me, and after a quick conversation, they go live on MicroAcquire, make the listing look good, gather a P&L if they have that available, and then if they use something like Stripe or ChartMogul or Baremetrics or Profitwell or Google Analytics, we connect all of that data so that you can get a real snapshot on the business instead of just these are my numbers and quotes and not be able to verify that. So there's some cool tech built into MicroAcquire that helps like actually verify revenue and verify traffic. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think really just making it as easy as possible to list your business is important to founders because, they don't want to spend 3 months, going through this process of getting ready with an investment banker, building out like a prospectus that just basically says the market's growing, everything's amazing. Like I've never seen a prospectus that's like, this market's bad. Like it's growing, it's great. Here's all these amazing opportunities. So it's almost like you have to reverse due diligence, even like a broker's like prospectus. You have to like, okay, what's wrong with this thing? Everything seems so good. So I think it's just like a fresh take, in the marketplace. And I definitely want to know, brokers and bankers have their place 100%. But my goal is really just to bring more optionality to founders, and that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I think anytime you're getting information from someone, you have to understand and ask yourself, what is their take on this information? And I would say, 90% of brokers aren't very good, but it's the same thing with real estate agents. And it's the same thing with customer support at really any company. Whereas 5 or 10% are really good. But also like any information that they're providing you, and half sometimes of the decks that I see will have like, the market is this big and it's compounding 20% year over year growth and all these things. And I'm like, well, I don't care about that stuff. Just show me the company. Right. And so sometimes there's a lot of this fluff that goes into sell it. You give the seller some guidance, but ultimately they can list a company for whatever they would like. What's the overall size range that people can expect on MicroAcquire?
Good question. There's a wide range. So there's different groups. Some people are looking for, a Shopify application that's making like, 2K a month or something like that, all the way up. The biggest company that's been acquired on MicroAcquire, definitely in the 7 figures, it was a little over 2 million. So that's kind of a big range, like anywhere from like 20K to like, I would say probably 50 or 5 million is probably the highest valued company. But I do, if some founders come on there and they have like, let's call it, 100,000 annual recurring revenue, they want to sell for like $30 million or something like that, I won't list that just because it's just, I tell them, I'm like, there's no way, like, I'm sorry. So I do that once in a while, but that's probably the least, fun part of the job. But there's a good range. Like if you're looking for something small, it's on there. If you're looking for something in the middle, definitely on there. And then on the upper range too.